Hello, my name's Bev and I'm the author of the book Please Eat, A Mother's Struggle to Free Her Teenage Son from Anorexia, which describes our family's battle with the deadly eating disorder, anorexia nervosa, which my teenage son Ben developed back in 2009 when he was just 15 years old. This blog post from the 14th of January 2011, the month I began to write my blog, is about exercise and also about honesty, because the problem with many young people suffering from eating disorders is that you can't always trust them to be telling the truth about what they've been eating or not been eating, or about exercise and all sorts of things. Because unfortunately, the eating disorder will try and pull the wool over your eyes and often over the treatment team's eyes as well. So you can be trundling along thinking everything is progressing okay, but behind the scenes things are quite different. So this particular entry is called Exercise and Honesty with Anorexia. Oh boy, two issues here: compulsive exercise and honesty in anorexia and other eating disorders. Both came to light during today's meeting with CAMS, that's Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services, who are treating my son. First, the good news. Ben was brutally honest about his exercising habits, or more correctly, his compulsions. As any parent of an anorexic young person will know, anorexia sufferers don't always tell the truth about hiding food, avoiding food, exercising, and so on. The good news is that over the past few months, Ben has been very honest if challenged about an anorexia behaviour by CAMS or indeed by me. This in itself is progress. And now the bad news. Ben described his 7 days a week exercise regime. Because of a low pulse rate and low body weight, he isn't permitted to do PE at school for the time being. We are all aware that he has a problem with compulsive exercising to compensate for this, and also to ensure he doesn't put on enormous amounts of weight, as he puts it, from week to week. It's a kind of purge, almost like a sufferer of bulimia might vomit to control their weight. The extent of Ben's compulsive exercising is huge, much bigger than any of us imagined. Just when we thought he'd listed all his 100 crunches, 100 sit-ups and 100 press-ups for any one day, he'd interrupt with, "I haven't finished yet." Not just once, but several times. And he listed exactly how many of which exercise he did and when during any day, school days and home days. Ben exercises from morning to night, but thankfully not during the night. Before he catches the school bus in the morning, he's already done hundreds of crunches, sit-ups, etc. during the 60 minutes we rush to get up, showered, breakfasted, and leave the house. I was stunned. At school, he still runs around the building from lesson to lesson, deliberately making himself late, so he has an excuse for all the running. In the days when anorexia was at its height, I was aware that he used to excuse himself from lessons to run round the block. When sitting his GCSE art exam separately from the others, he even did crunches, sit-ups, etc. when the invigilator was out of the room. It's probably why he got a low grade in art, one of his strongest subjects. But these days, thank goodness, he doesn't exercise to that extent. So that's progress of sorts as well. One reason he does mornings only at school at the moment is because he can't handle the thought of doing nothing, as he puts it, for the afternoon as well. When he gets home, he does another few sets of crunches, etc., and repeats these throughout the afternoon and before the evening meal. Most days he likes to keep even more active still, hating to just sit around. He's much happier if we go walking, for example. If he stays at home, he gets edgy and starts to suffer from withdrawal symptoms. In addition, he does a couple of aerobic free weight sessions every week, which I already know about. Unfortunately, our psychiatrist wasn't there today, and we saw the psychiatric nurse, the other half of the CAMS team. She was pretty shocked, and so was I. So the next stage in the treatment is to try and break this cycle, presumably just as you might try to break an alcohol or drug addiction, whilst at the same time continuing to bring him round to the idea that it's okay to put on weight rather than just maintain it. That's the thing with anorexia and other eating disorders. Just when you've ironed out one issue, there's often something else lurking in the background about to rear its ugly head, and you have to be on the ball all the time. If only it was as simple as just being about food. But it isn't. Far from it. But, as I said above, the good news is that Ben was brutally honest about his exercise regime and how much he hates doing it. Knowing exactly how much he hates it brings home just how much of his life the anorexia has stolen. All this planning and carrying out of exercise and feeling ill at ease or depressed when he's not doing it. All this is time he could be spending with his friends, living his life like a normal teenager. That's the other thing about anorexia. It steals a huge chunk of a young person's life away. It also hammers home just how much work there is still to do on the recovery front. This is why full recovery from anorexia can take ages. I long for the day when normal thoughts take over his mind rather than these unhealthy obsessions dominating every waking moment. It will happen, but the progress is so slow. But then no one ever said it would be quick. And that's the end of that blog post. So the number one drive for us was to try to get Ben to be able to control or reduce or even eliminate his exercising, because he hated it and it controlled him, and he was thinking about it from morning to night. And he said at one point it was just like input, output, thinking about how much purging through exercise he would need to do for anything he actually ate. So all those times when he was eating more than usual and we were delighted with progress, he was then going upstairs to try and exercise it all off. So this is another reason why you need to be super vigilant about a young person with eating disorder, to check whether they are purging the calories. They do say a good thing is if a young person is suffering from a form of purging, to try and keep them with you for some time after they've eaten a meal or a snack, to give the food time to actually hopefully get to their stomach and stay there for a while, for at least a while, if not permanently. Just so you can keep an eye on them and check out what they're doing. It's not great not being able to trust your child, a child you may have trusted for their whole life up to date, and who hopefully used to always tell the truth about things. But the thing with an eating disorder is that the sufferer can lie, and they will lie and lie and lie in order to maintain the eating disorder rather than push towards recovery. This isn't because they don't want to, it's because they can't. It's because the eating disorder won't let them. This is another reason why a phrase we heard an awful lot when Ben was suffering from anorexia was, he just has to want to get better, or we can't do anything until he wants to get better. But the problem is, since October 2010, he had wanted to get better, but this particular blog entry was written in the middle of January, and he was still unable to control the purging through exercise that was burning off the calories, and therefore he was unable to put on any weight. Thank you for listening. You'll find a link below to my blog, and you'll also find a link to my website where you can download free PDFs of my blog, and also a link to Amazon where you can buy a copy of my book.